So a lot of people are still reacting to the fact that 18-year-old Kyle Rittenhouse was found not guilty last week. In fact, people on social media are confused how a jury could say he was innocent, even though he killed two men with an AR-15 he brought with him and then claimed self-defense. So to talk more about this, we're going to bring in our friend of our show and former prosecutor, veteran trial attorney, Mark Eiglarsh. Mark, thank you so much for joining us. We always appreciate your clarity. So let's get right to it. A lot of people were surprised by the not guilty verdict. A lot of people are angry. Now, you were not surprised. What do you have to say to the folks out there who cannot believe that he was found innocent?
Well, first of all, I feel for you because we all know that people died as a result of Kyle Rittenhouse's actions. So I understand the frustration. I think that a lot of people either didn't watch the trial close enough or don't fully understand and appreciate what the law is regarding self-defense. The not guilty verdict doesn't mean that it's okay for a teenager to own a weapon of mass destruction. It doesn't mean that it's okay that he even went there. What they're saying is when he was there, exercising either poor judgment or okay judgment, he reasonably feared death or great bodily harm under the circumstances. That's all it means.
So, Mark, I want to ask you something that Kyle Rittenhouse said while talking to Tucker Carlson. So let's take a look.
This case has nothing to do with race. It never had anything to do with race. It had to do with the right to self-defense.
Right.
I'm not a racist person. I support the BLM movement. I support peacefully demonstrating.
So, Mark, do you think this verdict had anything to do with race?
I don't see that it does, but I'm open to any ideas that anybody has as to why it may have been. You don't have people of color who were executed. You have someone who at the time was white and believed that he was going to face death or great bodily harm. That's not to say that racism isn't alive and well and plays a huge role in many other cases in the criminal system. But I've yet to hear a compelling argument as to how these jurors were affected by it.
Well, I don't know how compelling I'm going to be in this moment, but I think that we have very short memories when it comes to the genesis of why Kyle Rittenhouse went to this protest. This was day 3 in the protest of Jacob Blake's shooting, who was shot by police officers while he was unarmed. And then when we talk about Kyle Rittenhouse and the verdict of him being found not guilty, I think it's very bizarre that we aren't linking the idea of it being racially motivated or that the verdict was racially come to terms with, especially when he had so much empathy from the judge. So I guess I feel like we're forgetting about how we got here.
Yeah, having tried over 150 jury trials and been practicing over 30 years, I'll be the strongest advocate for how people are treated differently in the system. Justice has been defined by like cases being treated alike. And Erica, I know you're saying it without saying it. I'll say it for you. People of color are oftentimes treated differently than people who are not. I don't know if it played a role in this case. I think that there are reasons why we can add that to the discussion, but I'm very careful not to suggest that these jurors who performed one of the highest duties under the law, other than serving the military, somehow had their decision influenced by race. I'm very cautious not to suggest that.
I would think that, you know, even let's just say that it didn't play a part in this case. So let's say it absolutely did not. I think what people are worried about and kind of prognosticating might be the case in the future is that this defense can be used over and over again in terms of I was armed, there was a person of color there, and I felt I feared for my life, because this almost, whether it legally sets a precedent, sets a maybe almost like a social precedent, that if you do fear for your life and you are armed, you can take this action to take somebody's life, and there at least gives you a chance of exoneration, which is what this verdict did. That's at least where I think a lot of people come from.
Al, that's nothing new. This is just a big high-profile case that everybody's seeing and somehow garnering attention for. This has been going on for hundreds of years. In Florida, where we have stand your ground, unfortunately, there are people who get into situations constantly who can escape the harm, but choose to stand their ground and execute people. That's the law in so many places. It is problematic. The issue always comes down to, it's fact sensitive. At the time, did the person reasonably fear death or great bodily harm? That's always been the law, and it was applied to Rittenhouse, arguably fairly in this case.
But Mark, and believe me, first of all, I appreciate you so much, and we're having this conversation because it's an important one. Would that law be applied to Al if Al was the one with the AR-15? Would he be given that same fairness to the law? Or do you think that the jury, the justice system, the judge would have seen Al differently than Kyle Rittenhouse if they did the exact same thing?
If we're being truly intellectually honest, and I've never been dishonest with you guys, the answer is, God, I hope so. But you're right. There is, I've said it earlier, I'll say it again. There is racism is alive and well in this country, more so in certain areas than others. And my fear is that people whose skin are just darker than mine get treated differently in the system. I give you that, Al. I cry for you at times when I say you, metaphorically you, someone who somehow gets treated differently. It concerns me on a daily basis. I see with my own clients. That said, the law shouldn't change, but how the law gets applied to different people, well, yeah, there's been inequity for years. I won't go around telling you that Al's going to be treated the same way as Kyle Rittenhouse, unfortunately.
Thank you, Mark. We always welcome your expertise, but also just your conversation.
I would say that's the most honest legal expertise, where he's mixing honesty and just like what the law is, and that's part of it too.
Because if we can't talk about it and talk about it truthfully, then we're never going to have any sort of reform. We appreciate you, Mark, as always. And to our viewers out there, please,
we love you guys.
We love you. For more information on Mark and his law firm, go to speaktomark.com. We'll be right back. Thank you, Mark.